There's no denying that Age of Mythology has a great campaign, but once you've played through it a few times, it isn't really that challenging. If you've ever wanted to get into speedrunning, or just want a different way to play the campaign, then in this video I share some of the current quickest ways to beat the Egyptian missions on the Fall of the Trident campaign. This is part 2 in the series, part 1 was on the Greek missions, and a link will be in the description. The first mission is called the Lost Relic. Maybe not the strongest start to the Egyptian campaign from a speedrunning perspective, as there's not much to do to optimise this one. It all comes from how quickly you can pull the villagers to uncover the Lost Relic. The quicker they come together, the faster your time will be, as the lone goal for this mission is that damn relic in the sand. There is going to be ways to optimise this, like what I do here is I delete the market and a couple of houses just to get a good starting point for the villagers, and maybe trying some speed walking too, but that's the main key for this mission. Apart from that, it is just defending and making sure that the enemy units don't attack your villagers at all, and this can be done in a variety of ways. If you play this on an easier difficulty, they often have walls up, so you can just sit there, have a cup of tea, and wait for it to finish. But on Titan difficulty, it's a little bit more tricky. You can place obelisks with your 2 priests to distract the enemy units. Also run around with fast units, and then attack them with the rest. I copied an idea from Joey Bad's run, where he puts obelisks around the towers. That's a nice touch. I don't believe I ever played this mission before on Titan difficulty, as I just wanted to get through it as quickly as I could. So when the enemy son of Osiris arrives towards the end, it really took me by surprise. You want to keep this guy away from the villagers working on the relic, that's for sure. If some units do manage to get through and all yours go down, just grab a unit like a Manra or Chiron or anybody fast, run around in circles, and you should probably be okay. As of early June 2024, the world record for this on Titan difficulty is by DoD Experimenter in 7 minutes and 8 seconds, or 7:57 left on the in-game clock. Mission number 12 is Light Sleeper, and this one is pretty brutal on any difficulty, let alone Titan. On my live stream of the whole campaign, this is the one that gave me the most trouble. I think I had to restart it like 3 or 4 times. The idea is to get the sword to the Guardian, then let him wreak havoc on Kemsit's army of elephants, scorpion men and avengers. You start the mission with a few heroes, some archers and the sword bearers. We want to leave the sword bearers behind as they're slow and fragile, and we don't want them losing any HP for later. The rest of the team need to move forward to the town and rescue the villagers. It's important not to walk too far, as there's a large number of Anubites that you don't need to face to figure the villagers becoming yours. You can wait for the villagers to become yours and then face the Anubites, although a couple might jump out at you. But if too many come, it wastes time and wrecks your army. If you can also help it, keep Amanra from taking too much damage, as she's the key to the next step. Once you've taken out the units and you get the villagers, send them all through to the base, but make sure that your heroes and army go through first, as mummies, serpents and animals of Set all spawn, so if they go first, they'll get one shot by the mummies and all die before you get there. You need to make sure you get 5 there for the next part of the mission to trigger, but it's a good idea to keep them all alive because they'll need to gather some resources for you. As soon as they get to the town centre, start them on the crown crane next to the town centre. The pharaoh will welcome you in. Once he's yours, empower the TC, dump in all the food. The more villagers that you kept alive on the journey means it will be quicker that you get the 400 food needed to advance to the next stage. Once you get this, by force dropping the resources, age up through Ptah to get the Shifting Sands ability. Amanra now needs to do her standard running and jumping thing. She needs to run through the base, hop the wall, take this specific route to the enemy base, avoiding taking damage where you can. You don't need a quicker route than this, as once you've clicked through the classical age, you should get to the only spot that's not protected by ISIS monuments as soon as you advance to the next stage. If timed right, Amanra should be there and you can use Shifting Sands on the sword bearers and then walk them into the Sleeping Guardian. And then keep your fingers crossed. The reason I say this is the pathing in Age of Mythology is so bad, and even when it looks like your unit can fit through, sometimes it can't and goes around the long way. Even when your unit looks like it can fit through, sometimes it can't and it decides to go around the long way. And this isn't great with such a slow, squishy unit. This happened a fair few times when I was recording this. It's very frustrating. But in an attempt where the Guardian does get his sword, he wants to wake up, bash down the wall to get free, and then the wall into your base. While this is happening, bring all your villagers and a pharaoh forward and wait behind the wall. The Guardian can then one-shot everything in front of him, plus the wall leading to the villagers. Once you feel the time is right, send the villagers forward to prepare to build a wall. Once the villagers are in, get them to build a wall to wall off any incoming units. The reason for this is the fast units will just keep running away, and your really slow Guardian will take at least a calendar year to catch up to any of them. Some may glitch through the wall, but that's just AOM, there's nothing you can really do about it. But in an ideal world, you can take out everything with the Guardian and call it a day and move on to the next one. The world record for this one is by 999 in 7 minutes 17 seconds, or 7:50 left on the clock. Mission 13 is called Tug of War and is all about speed walking. If you don't know how to speed walk, then this is the mission to learn all about that mechanic. You start off the mission with all your heroes on the floor and the Osiris piece being stolen by the enemy. Using Ancestors and Plague of Serpents straight away brings the camels carrying the Osiris piece back to your side and takes down the enemy units, and revives your own heroes. Start building a few camels out of both Migdals and set a waypoint close to the Osiris box. Also, you want to build a handful of priests to a nearby cliff for later use. When your heroes come back, with Chiron and the slow Osiris piece in a group, you need to get out of danger and dodge any enemy units or even friendly units that the box might get stuck on. The slow units in ancient mythology have terrible pathfinding, as we've said before. When the camels decide to rock up, set the fast camels and the slow camels in a group with box formation, then speed walk the box out. You can do this by selecting the fast camels only, moving them a few feet ahead, then selecting your group, and the slow Osiris piece will try and close the gap to get in the middle of the box formation. The key to getting a fast time is to do this as efficiently as possible. It's definitely not an easy skill, and it's something that I'm very far behind the world record speedrunners in this. The priests that we made earlier will be used to take out the spawning Anubites. You want to make more units so the Anubites go down quicker and the Osiris piece won't get turned over to the enemy, but too many units means there's more things for the slow camels to bump into, so it's pretty tricky. Lastly, you can delete the gates and walls for easier access to the finish line. The current world record for Tug of War is by Joey Bads in 2 minutes 29 seconds, or 3:33 on the clock. Somehow in my original recording I forgot to do Isis Hear My Plea, the one I've done a whole video on, so I'll just do it live and we'll run through it. It's all about Amanra and that's it. So we grab Amanra, we put her in the town centre, get her out of the way, and we're running to the end. That is the entirety of the mission. But there are a couple of little things that you've got to watch out for, but it's only about 1:30 long. So we just want to run through this path, so doing the town centre saves a little bit of time. You want to not be hit by any of these spearmen, because that also wastes some time. And you just want to run through. Sometimes that guy hits you, and that can be really annoying. I like to use my vision here, so then you can see who to jump on. You want to jump on the manticore, this one here that's about to attack me. Then we want to jump to the hippos. The hippos spawn makes a difference, but jumping to them, no matter what, is the way. This blue ship sometimes stays green, and that wastes some time, and that's never fun. And now we want to get to here. So something that I like to do for this is you turn the camera a certain way, zoom in fully, get your eject button and put her straight there on that spot, and that should work for us here. I normally put her as a control group, but I forgot this time, so you just have to circle her, get her through, and we get there in 2 minutes 22, which is slightly behind the world record, but I forgot to put my timer on. It's alright, I can put that on afterwards. The world record for Isis Hear My Plea is 1:22 or 2:19 left on the clock by me and Berix. If you want to match this time, you'll need to use the Spanish version. Mission number 15 is called Let's Go, and this is where we need to get out of the prison which Amanra has saved the boys from. You just want to click to get out of both gates, and then send the war turtle down to find a transport ship. You want to start attacking the transport ship that's on the left-hand side, because that's the one that comes and attacks your units. It isn't a big deal if you can't kill it off, but it does definitely help. See, I just missed the attack here because the war turtle's attack animation just takes so long, and it just saves a little bit of time, but it isn't really that much of a big deal. You see, Amanra just tried to jump on nothing, which is quite funny. The Avengers can take out the spearmen really, really quick, so it doesn't matter anyway, and you don't need to kill them all off before your transport ships arrive. You could actually be a little bit closer to the transport ships. So you want to get your units in the transport ships, use your Plague of Serpents on the town that's in the bottom left, and then that gives you access to the villagers and Pharaoh. With the villagers and Pharaoh, you want to build an armory and look to get to the next stage. The War Turtle and the other attacking ships that aren't your transport ship full of units, you want to send to the right-hand side of the docks into the actual dock port itself, just so you can distract the aggro of some of the land units. Then your transport ship full of Chiron and everyone else needs to be on the left. Once you've built the armory, you can just send your villagers over to food, because you need, I believe, 20 more food to get up to the heroic age. So as you can see, we are distracting the chariots nicely. It'd be nice to put the Pharaoh on the actual granary. Everything needs to just run forward, and we want to get this slow camel box out. Once you get the 20 food, you can advance through Nephthys, because we will be wanting to use the Ancestors' God Power later on. Now, what the world record does is actually saves the Plague of Serpents for this moment, rather than using it straight on the base. I don't know which one would actually be quicker. I'd like to test that, but that is also an option. Just sending one axeman over in the second transport ship, you would get up through Nephthys slightly slower, but you would have more units here. So it's a little bit of whichever one you would actually prefer to do and just try out. But it's the same general idea. We want to slowly take this gate down. Once the gate is down, it's a case of speed walking again. So you want to use your fast units to speed walk, but also there's so many enemy units around, it is actually pretty difficult to get this guy out. So just use your best judgment of how you can manage to get out. I'm definitely not the best at this mission. As you can see, it just gets stuck on the crocodiles and all sorts. You want to send somebody to bait these Anubites out. I think I accidentally leave Chiron under the tower, so of course he will die, because the towers do a hell of a lot of damage. Now we can finish those off with the Avengers and use our Ancestors' God Power on a wall. The reason I've used the right side wall, it is what is done in the world record, and I believe it's so that there's less enemy units around. Because if you go straight through the middle, then the cart is more likely to be transferred over to the red side, which is obviously not what we want. I think that does happen to me here anyway, but it would be more likely to happen on the middle bit. If you're using an easier difficulty, like easy, you start in the heroic age rather than the mythic age, and you can use your Plague of Serpents, build a market, go straight up through Thoth, and use the meteor on the middle of the gate, and it normally kills it in one hit, or just shy of that, with a couple of whacks from an Avenger. So it is much easier than the Titan version. I use the box formation to do a bit of speed walking, get to the end in a relatively slow time. The world record for Let's Go is by DoD Experimenter in 4:35, or 5 minutes left on the clock. Mission number 16 is called Good Advice, and this is the one where Arkantos is in a dream and thinks he's evil, which I like. The idea of this is to follow Castor and then grab the relic that he spawns in for you, but you can actually grab the relic from the statue before he spawns it in, because it is just hiding behind it. Once you get the relic, you want to get it in the temple, as Castor says, but you want to go behind the temple, because then that gives the statues of lightning from Zeus a bit more of a chance to attack the Cyclopses, because they have a little bit of a cooldown, so you want to get them to attack as quickly as possible, and that's just the best place to do it. I get a little bit stuck around the side, but that's not really a problem, because all the statues are actually attacking, so not too bad. With a nice triple attack of lightning, that takes down Gargarensis, which is pretty satisfying. You just want to move on and grab all the heroes and take down the Chimera. There's no real best way to do this, because it's the same DPS no matter what. You want to make sure that the Arkantos special goes off each time. It is probably a good idea to not let any of the heroes die though, as Amana dies for me and then she comes back to life within this bit when Athena kills them off, which I thought was quite funny. You get an unskippable cutscene here, but it's alright. When you're allowed to play again, Arkantos and Castor just need to run through, and then you get access to each of these units as you run past them, so you just want to move them forward when you can. There'll be quite a lot of units here. The Shades just need to take down the most important ones. You have a bolt, which is best used for Theris, as You could also just use one of the shades to take him out. I'm pretty sure that's allowed. The Chimera are strong units that are going to take down your spearmen, so you definitely want to use the shades on them. Once all the units are gone, or most of them, you want to send the spearmen and the catapults to attack the boulder, and that's pretty much all the DPS you actually need for the boulder, because everything else will do very minimal, and there's going to be a lot of units that you're going to need to take down to stop them attacking your catapults and your spearmen. It isn't a big deal about you losing anything else, but if you lose the catapults mainly, then that just takes away a lot of your DPS. Find a good place to use your flaming weapons and your restoration. Flaming weapons is basically as soon as everything's attacking, and restoration whenever you feel like it. I use mine at the end of the cutscene. Now it's time for everyone's favourite bit of the mission, where we turn into the red guys and we want to attack the Wonder. What you need to do for this is send our Kantos to the home base, as you need someone to trigger the next point of the mission to actually be able to get to the Wonder. I send Castor too because he's pretty useless. Everything else we send to the Wonder. As you can see, I'm doing this very slowly. This isn't done at the same time, because if you press restart, you actually get back to this part 2 of the mission, or part 3 maybe. But it took me so many attempts that I just needed to split it up. So now we've triggered the bit where it says train an army to destroy the enemy Wonder, but we can just destroy the enemy Wonder. One of the transport ships has villagers in, which you're meant to send to your town, but for us they're pretty useless, and we don't want them getting in the way of all the other units. As I've said in previous parts, the pathfinding for this game is just so bad, so the less units the better, really. We actually managed to eject pretty well, which is rare. And we want to use the Earthquake and everything onto the Wonder. You want to make sure that the Hydras and Gargarensis are attacking, because they do a lot of damage. Use the Curse if you feel like it, and hope that the Wonder goes down. I've had ones where it doesn't, so it's pretty rough. The world record for this one is also by DoD Experimenter in 5 minutes 47. Mission number 17 is the Jackal Stronghold, and I'm pretty sure this is the quickest mission of the entire campaign, because it utilises a glitch with the transport ships. This is another mission where you only need to use a Manra and a couple of specific jumps just to save a little bit of time. You want to run over to the first village, get to the dock, and cast your Ancestor's God Power. Even though there's nothing around, this might seem like it's a little bit strange. As soon as the dock comes, you want to get a Leviathan, and we want to put a Manra in. What we're doing now with the Ancestors boats is you want to put them in a circle so that when the Leviathan comes out, it can't possibly move. This is so we can use a bit of an exploit with how the ungarrisoning works, where as the Leviathan can't move, it just transports itself over to the enemy base, which is a little bit strange. Here we can use a Manra's special ability, which is jumping, to jump over more walls. There are 2 walls to jump over on Titan difficulty. I think there's only one on easy. And now we just want to avoid the snaring and jump to as many people as possible to avoid the snaring, basically. Snaring is when you get slowed down by units attacking you. And we managed to get to the Osiris piece. I dropped Eclipse because why not? And I died just as it says victory is yours, which is why I was pretty happy about that. The world record for this one is tied. It's 1 minute 15 or 1:34 on the clock. And I think there's quite a few people a second or so behind as well. Mission 18 is called A Long Way From Home. And this is where we want to chop down this big ass tree. We want to send everything towards the tree except for 3 Jarls, which we want to take down a temple in the bottom right side, as this will give us some free gold. We cast the Eclipse God Power here, as otherwise the enemy would cast Plague of Serpents and I think another God Power, which would slow everything down. We want to use the units to clear out the tree and also stop these crocodiles, because they'll be attacking your units later, your villagers later. We want to auto-queue priests out of the temple and auto-queue villagers out of the town centre to task straight onto the tree. Rather than using the villagers straight on the tree like I am now, we should be using them to take down the towers. Otherwise the towers will kill off the villagers like they do for a couple of mine here, and that will slow us down considerably. We want to use the market to get the right amount of food for constant villager production. I don't think I do it right here, so then I do correct it later when we get some gold from the temple. Once the towers are down, we want to put the villagers straight on the tree and task the villagers to go to the tree. We then get the gold from our temple, and that's when I recorrect with the market to realise that we are going to need some more villagers to be pumped out. It's then going to be a case of defending with the priests. Priests are also good because they can heal up all the units. We don't need ox carts because we're not gathering any resources, so they're good for just baiting out some of the enemy units. We do want to make sure, however, that we don't go over the 68 population, so that's something where you can just delete the ox carts or some of the priests that you don't need for defending. Even though it is on the Titan difficulty, which is the highest, it isn't too difficult to do with just a few units and min defend. There'll be a few waves that appear, just like this, and if you do have some of your fast units, you can just bait them around and let your priests kill everything, as they do have 100% accuracy. The main key to this is just that you have enough food for constant villager production the entire time, and then we get the next Osiris box. The world record for this one is by Joey Bads, and that's 6 minutes 13 or 7:05 left on the clock. Mission number 19 is called Watch That First Step. And this is one where I shared that I got the world record for this one after so many attempts and failing every single one, and then suddenly when I did it, I got the world record, which is pretty weird. So this mission is easy in terms of it's very simple, but to execute on it is just so difficult, and it's mainly down to luck. So the mission starts off, you have Arkantos Ajax, a load of hoplites and some siege. The siege isn't needed because it's too slow. You want to take down this Migdal stronghold and then attack the dock. I do something here where I wait until a lot of the hoplites are on the dock to then use Arkantos' special, just so we can take it down slightly quicker. It's a mission I always used to like because you sneak past with the pirate ships, and a 10-year-old me just absolutely loved it. So with the pirate ships, we want to get to the flag and sneak past the enemy. There is a version of this where you can use the same exploit as the Amonra mission, where you go up to the top and block in with the other transport ship, but you can only drop one set of units off. And I believe on the Titan difficulty, you'll need every possible unit. When you arrive, you get given a town centre. Out of this town centre, you want to queue Mercenary, as Mercenary will be useful for you to tank as much as you possibly can. When all the Mercenary are out, you want to bronze up your units. You don't need to build an armory here, it's just something that I was messing around with, because as I said, this mission took me so many attempts, so I was debating whether I could. I don't even think I have the resources to do anything with it. And then I realised that. Then you just walk up and you want to get to Kamos. It's all about just getting the right pathing. I went up to the top left, I tried every which way, and this is just the one where my units seemed to walk in the direction that I wanted them to. Before I show an ending that worked out, I just want to show the level of micro that Kamos sometimes has and makes it impossible to actually kill him. As you can see, I have all my units and I'm clicking on Kamos, and he just runs behind all the jumping Anubites, and he doesn't want to attack anyone, which is strange, and he just gets out of the way. This is like some pro level micro, and it just made it impossible. This happens so many times. But then back to the attempt that actually finished. If you can get through everything and he actually comes and attacks you, then you're in a good bet, and hopefully the Anubites don't take everything else out. He's so tanky that you need a decent amount of units on it, and you need them to survive. Luckily for this version, I managed to get him to 30% HP, or whatever you need. And this is the world record speedrun. Mission number 20 is called Where They Belong, and it's the true last Egyptian mission, but there's also one extra one before we get to the Norse, so I will cover that. With one side we want to build a siege tower, the side with the pharaoh. The other side we get 2 villagers, which I just move over to the gold, because priests are going to be useful later because of all the myth units. What we want to do is get Amonra to join up with everyone else, so we will have the 2 Osiris pieces on the same side. With the siege works, we want to start building a siege tower, and everything else can just move over to the gold, because again, we want the priests for later. Send everything to this wall. Once the siege towers are built, we also want to move those over to the wall too. Having the pharaoh empower both the siege towers is a good idea, as we want to get them out as soon as possible to take the walls down. Once the first wall is down, there's also a second one to take out. By this time, the Osiris pieces should also be there, and the 2 siege towers, and we're auto-queuing priests to come to this zone as well. Amana is needed here because, as in most things, she's good at baiting people out. So if you whack the wall a couple of times, most of the units, if not all of them, should come and attack Amana, and this is when we're going to go over to the left-hand side and just bait everyone out. When everyone's baited to the left-hand side, we want to drop Plague of Serpents to distract them slightly more, and then Amana wants to run around in a circle and hopefully not die. And if she does die, it needs to be done on the left so that the units take a while to come back. You want the siege towers and the melee units to attack the wall. Everything else can clear the spearmen and everything else, as they will get annoying. We want to just grab everything and push through, because pathfinding. And get the Osiris pieces to the green box as quickly as you possibly can, because then that spawns the final Osiris cart piece. You just need to make sure to move everything out of the way so that the pieces can get through. Arcantos then spawns at the top side, and you want to get them there as quick. You want to get the Osiris cart piece there as soon as possible. It's a good idea to pair it with an Avenger, because then you can do a bit of micro with the speed walking. Make sure to grab your temple and set the priests to spawn a little bit closer. I think I try and cast Ancestors here because Amana dies, and that just distracts them for a little bit longer. Hopefully enough time to get the Osiris piece there. The Osiris piece gets stuck behind these slow units, so try and move them out of the way. I believe this mission actually ends up being a world record, or very close to one, and it's quite slow with the speed walking. So if you're someone that's good at speed walking, you can definitely take the world record away for this one. Using the siege and the elephants to make a slightly shorter path is definitely a good shout, as walking around the long way will just be so slow for the Osiris cart piece. Here we actually get a decent run in with the speed walking, and we get the Osiris cart piece over to its destination. It does go around the long way, which again, pathfinding, but there's a few seconds to be saved here for sure. I mean, look at it just like flailing around. But we do manage to get there with 7 minutes left on the clock, and that's a pretty good time. The previous world record did have 7 minutes and 2 seconds on the clock, so I need to submit this or try again. I feel like there is some time to save. Mission 21 is called Old Friends, and this is the mission where you are pigs and boars, depending on if you're a hero or just a normal unit. There's something to do right at the start of this mission. The pig which talks to Ajax and Arcantos, you unfortunately have to leave him behind to be the sacrificial lamb, or sacrificial pig in this case, as the villager just goes after him and lets all of the rest of you through, and it saves some time just to leave him there, unfortunately. You want Boar Ajax and Boar Arcantos to split up when you get to the main town and let out the pigs that are in the pens. You want to ignore the pen that's on the left-hand side just because it's slightly out of the way and you don't need those units anyway. You want to split the boars up to attack, and the pigs, you just have to let them fend for themselves. Sometimes the wolves take out a pig and sometimes they don't. It's just whether you get lucky or not. The pen that's on the right-hand side, normally a villager comes over and you just want to scare that off with whichever boar you sent in that direction. And then the final pen you can just take out with both of the boars. Sometimes you have to walk into the pen to actually get them to move over to your side. It's just something to bear in mind, because otherwise they'll just stay as the green side and you'll waste some time. Then you just want to move everything over to the temple, except for Boar Ajax. We have another plan for him. When we feel the pigs have got to the right place, we want to send Boar Ajax to the top gate, as this is where we will be attacking, and bait out those units, just like we did with Amana. I go to build a barracks here, but you're in the archaic age to start with, so I get a little bit confused. But as soon as you move over to the classical age, you want to auto-queue Minotaurs, build a couple of barracks, and auto-queue hoplites out. You then send Boar Ajax down here to bait these units out, as this will be crucial for later. You need to do Ajax as Arcantos special, which is way too powerful to not do. And I'll make sure all your villagers are working. For some reason mine weren't, but unfortunately Boar Ajax will die, but we go up to the top wall and start attacking that. I build a house with the villager just so we can get more hoplites out. It won't really matter because he won't make it there in time anyway, but the villagers just weren't attacking the wall. We want to ignore the units and just go straight for the fortress. And this is where we want to drop down our restoration god power so that the attacking fortress and town center don't take down any of our units. Here, Cersei and 2 Nemean lions spawn. Just drop your bolt on it on any of them. Cersei won't take out too many units as she only gets 1 attack off before the fortress drops down anyway. And that is the end of the Egyptian missions.